Today we're going to discuss Atma Sanyama Yoga, the sixth chapter from Gita. The main theme is meditation. Meditation is the technique to recognize our true nature, our own true nature, understand our true identity. That's the technique. As a matter of fact, we concluded the school with meditation that has been a habit for several years. You are wise, you're knowledgeable, and you're also renunciate if you physically engage in action. But at the same time, understand that self or your true nature performs no action. You can be considered as a renunciate, that is jnana karma phala sannyasi, even if you are in a committed relationship with your spouse. A sansari is also called sannyasi. I can tell you, when you read Gita hundreds of times, every time you see something different. And if you take the word renunciation as a sannyasi, it takes a long time to understand it. In the particular context we are studying, that renunciation means jnana karma phala sannyas. So even if you are married, when a sannyasi is also sadhari is also sannyasi. That's how he opens up the first verse of the sixth chapter. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi sa yogi cha na niragnir na chatriya. A karma yogi who has overcome attachments and aversions and works in conformity of the universal values, that is dharma, and performs action that is to be done without depending on the results of the action, is in reality a true renunciate. The individual, on the other hand, who has taken the vows of a renunciate, is wearing a saffron robe, has simply abandoned the prescribed duty of a sansari, but has yet not reached the emotional maturity by overcoming its attachments and aversion. Despite that orange robe, is really not a renunciate. Renunciation or jnana karma phala sannyas is recognizing your true nature, which is indeed full, complete, and never changing. The ignorance and the error that cause you to be estranged from this truth can be removed only through knowledge. You can gain this knowledge through the teachings of an enlightened teacher called Guru, who himself has received it through the lineage of enlightened teachers, starting with Lord Sri Krishna. You may have several experiences in life of extreme joy and fullness, but trust me, they will not give the knowledge that you indeed are Satchidananda. Meaning you are a radiant awareness that is immortal, eternal, and limitless, and overflowing with every positive emotion that you can think about, including joy, happy, and most importantly, content. In any moment of profound happiness, the duality between knower and known, the seer and the seen, disappears. In that moment of ecstasy, the desire to be limitless is fulfilled. And there is nothing other than the real you that is in full action. This experience of fullness is not due to any object or a situation that you're in, but because you are free from your taxing, demanding, desiring, and judging mind. Unfortunately, you may not recognize that fullness is indeed your true nature until an enlightened teacher, Guru, tells you Tat Tvam Asi, that limitless thou art. You are Nitya Sannyasta, actionless. You are Chit, you are the radiant awareness. Karma Yoga, as we studied in the past, is a means for a discriminative person to master contemplation. Renunciation or Jnana Karma Phala Sannyas is the means for a person who already has mastered the contemplation. That's how the third verse comes up. Arurukshayu munaya yogam karma karana muchyate yoga arudasya tasyaiva shama karana. For the discriminating person wishing to attain contemplative disposition of yoga, of meditation, Karma Yoga seems to be the means. But the person who already has attained this yoga, total renunciation alone is said to be the means. Total renunciation again, Jnana, Karma, Phala, Sannyasa. If you engage in action with the right attitude, you will gain a contemplative mind. Your mind becomes purer as you accept every result with pleasure or prasannata, considering that outcome as the divine grace, prasad. Your likes and dislikes diminish and your mind becomes free of reactions. Eventually, you recognize your mind is naturally contemplative. Even though this development of mind takes time, there is no reason for condemnation at all. If others condemn you, do not accept their judgment. It's quite common to be criticized as kids, certainly get criticized at home, at the school, and as we grow up in the society. This judgment can lead us to think that we are useless. A useless feeling can cause us to go about boasting to cover up your feelings of inadequacy. If you refuse to abandon this negative judgment about yourself, even God cannot help you. So Lord Sri Krishna tells us, Arjuna, you should uplift yourself, you should not condemn yourself. Udaret atmanatmanam, natmanam avasade, atmaiva yatmano bandhur, atmaiva ripuratmana. May you uplift yourself by oneself. May one not destroy or degrade oneself. For the self alone is one's benefactor. The self alone can be worst enemy. By remaining in the company of good and enlightened individuals, we, all of us as here, fortunate to be born as human beings, can reach that state of liberation, Jivan Mukti, by following the simple advice given in the 9th verse in Bhaja Govindam, which Shankaracharya tells us, Satsangatve nitsangatvam, nitsangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischalatatvam, nischalatatve Jivan Mukti. Stay in the company of good people. That way what will happen, you will get detached from the so-called great pleasures of material things. Once you starting getting detached from the material pleasures, you'll understand and you'll get away from your delusion. Once you start getting away from the delusion, what is false and what is real, you'll be able to understand the true knowledge about yourself, that is Nischala Tattva. And once you understand who you really are, you are liberated in this life. Clear knowledge of the self or Atman is liberation from limitation. Your nature is limitlessness. Learning to connect with your own self and to remain connected is the purpose of meditation. To break the habit of seeing yourself as limited, follow the advice of Lord Sri Krishna to engage in regular practice of meditation. Like every other human being, you are prone to forgetfulness, and some of us get more as we get more mature. Like every other human being, you forget. I told you that. While watching a three-dimensional movie in the IMAX theater, even though you know that you're watching that dumb movie, you still duck when a stone is being thrown at you, because at that moment you truly identify with that movie, right in that movie, which means you have forgotten who you are. And that's what happens in our life. We forget what our true nature is. Similarly, we forget your own nature when we impulsively act in this world. Although you like to think you are rational, sorry, you have bad news. even though you think you are rational, you are actually a victim of your old habits when you as human being act without thinking about your true nature. You can extinguish these old habits through the daily meditations. Remember, your iPhone has to be charged every day. The same way you have to be recharged through the process of meditation. Having arranged in a clean place, a firm seat that is neither too high nor too low, covered with a soft cloth, with the body, head and neck held straight, with the limbs unmoving and the mind steady, looking as though at the tip of the nose, not looking around in different directions. May the one who is very peaceful, who is free from fear, who follows the vows of brahmacharya, who is grounded in divinity, having controlled the mind, may that one sit steadfast, being one who thinks only of God and who regards God as the only supreme. Shuchau deshe pratishtapya, sthiram asanam atmana, natyuchhutam nati nijam, chailajana kushottaram, samam kaya shiro grivam, dharayan nacharam sthira, sampreksha nasikagram, swam dishash chalana lokaya. Prashantatma vigatabhir, brahmachari vrate sthitaha, manas sanyamam achitto, yukta asita matpara. This passage describes the proper posture, environment and attitude for meditation. Forget your bodies. Forget its aches and pains. I know it hurts all over. Having seated, try to relax in a comfortable posture. Do not be concerned about the world. I have a news for you. Only appointment you have is with yourself. You withdraw the sense organs and do not react to the sounds around you. Don't worry about the specific details which I just said, but instead make certain that your body is relaxed. Objectify your body, because remember, body is an object, sense organs are object, mind is an object, intellect is an object. Only thing is subject is the Chaitanya or awareness. So objectify body, senses and everything else, as Lord Shri Krishna said. Seated here, having made the mind single-pointed, the one who has control of the mind and senses should practice yoga, contemplation, to attain the purity of mind. Tatraikagram manah krutva, yata chittendriya kriya, upavishyasane kriya, yoga matma vishuddhi. Meditation has been defined as an unbroken stream of thought, focused on an object like an oil poured from one vessel into another in a continuous flow. On the PowerPoint presentation, I have a picture where you can see actually pouring the oil. The purpose of meditation is to still the modifications of the mind. The mind can be compared to the lake. It is full of waves created by multifarious desires which are perpetually rising to the surface. On account of the agitated condition of the surface, we do not see our innermost self, which is alive, pure and divine. By the steady practice of meditation, one can quell the waves and attain to perfect calmness, which nothing in the world can ever disturb at that moment. Our innermost pure and divine self becomes crystal clear at that time. As the meditation deepens, which makes our mind tranquil like the unflickering flame of lamp burning in a windless spot. In 19th verse, Sri Krishna says, Yatha dipo nivatastho nengate sopama smruta yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogamatmana. A lot of students are learning Sanskrit. If you break this word, Yatha nivatastha dipa na ingate saupama atmanaha yogam yunjataha yoginaha yata chittasya smrata. So that's how you break down, Anuvaya break down, then you understand the meaning very clearly. At the culmination, the seeker after truth reaches the highest peak of realization in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which is an unannihilating experience in which the space melts and the time stays still. The phenomenal world is totally obliterated from the consciousness of the meditator, and the knowledge of Brahman, God by any name, saturates every fiber of that being. There is no more distinction between the subject and the object, and the seer is engulfed and absorbed in the bliss of self-knowledge, transcending boundaries of sorrow and grief. All doubts of the mind are resolved by the light of the knowledge, which dispels all darkness of ignorance forever. Jitatmanah prashantasya paramatma samahita shitoshta sukha dukkheshu tatha manapamanayo. The one who has mastery over oneself, his mind is always in the state of composure, tranquility, and is never conflicted at the physical, mental or intellectual levels, such as extremes of heat and cold, pleasure or pain, or praise or censure. Our scriptures teach us that our own consciousness of awareness or Chaitanya is none different than Brahman. Rigveda and Aitariya Upanishad gives the definition called Lakshana Vakya, gives the meaning, furnishes definition of eternal truth, says Prajnanam Brahma, Prajnanam Brahma. Our awareness is nothing but Brahma. The teacher passes this critical knowledge and wisdom, jnana and vijnana, to the student as an advice, Upadesha Vakya, in the form of Tattvamasi, that thou art. You are that consciousness of Brahman. And this is recorded in Samaveda and of course Chandogya Upanishad discussion. Tattvamasi. That statement is then accepted by the disciple with great deal of Shraddha. Remember that Shraddha means utmost confidence and faith, but pending confirmation, pending self-confirmation through self-discovery. But you have to go with a positive attitude, accept it on faith. But that's not where you stop. You continue to study till the time you self-discovery. Then faith doesn't remain faith, it becomes a personal conviction. But when this knowledge is personally realized by reaching the state of samadhi during the meditation, this profound knowledge transforms itself into the wisdom, jnana turns into vijnana, and the individual is content in the realizations of one's true nature, is content truptatma. And then explains his ecstasy, statement of direct experience, anubhava vakya, ayam atma brahma is connected there. This atma is indeed Brahma, anubhava vakya. Such is the effect of regular practice of meditation on the road to the realization for the seeker. This is recorded in Atharva Veda, Mandukya Upanishad, of course, Brihadaranyaka. Once one starts to live his life in that knowledge, while serving others, he remains grounded in that contented attitude, Truptatma attitude, and exclaims a Trupti Garjana called Anusandhana Vakya, statement of regular experience, or living constantly in the awareness of the truth. This again given in Brihadaranyaka. The seeker is constantly seeking to discover one's identity and asks, till the time he discovers, who is he who is expressing so constantly through my body? Only through the transcendental experience can the seeker achieve these direct moments of realization. Consciousness is a single living energy that plays through all the creatures and inanimate creation and is identical to God. God is substratum from which the entire creation or Jagat, Srishti has arisen, in which universe exists and plays, and into which alone ultimately all names and forms resolve. Jnana Vijnana Truptatma Kutastho Vijitendriya Yukta Ityuchyate Yogi Samaloštashma Kanchana. This consciousness or true nature is the only true subject. Everything else is an object. And all objects we perceive through our subject, that is Atma. Once we have reached that state of ecstasy during samadhi, for such an enlightened individual, nothing in the material world becomes an attraction anymore. Be that be a clump of clay or a chunk of gold. Samaloštashma Kanchana. This is nice Subhashit Marathi, Sanskrit Marathi word to show you. Matruvat paradareshu paradravyeshu loshtavat atmavat sarvabhuteshu ya pashyati sa pashyati. Matruvat paradareshu. Any other woman besides your wife is no different than your mother. Tukaram, Sant Tukaram, who was trying to be tempted by a Ganika of his time, who was dancing, singing beautifully. It's not that he didn't appreciate the beauty or appreciate the artistry or the sweetness of her voice. When she had completed, he said, you know what? I really enjoyed your dance. I really got excited listening to your beautiful, sweet music. You know what? You're just like my Rukmini Mata. Obviously, he was hooked on to Vithoba, and for him, she was Rukmini Mata. Similar story you can tell about Gautam Buddha. In his discussion hall, walks in a beautiful Amrapali. I have a beautiful original painting at home. Walking in a typical seductive walking style, thinking I can get any man now, I got now. And exactly his reaction was the same. Appreciated her beauty. He said, I wish my mother was just as beautiful as you are. How would I be beautiful too? So he admired the beauty, didn't reject it. At the same time, Matruvat Paradareshu, putting every other woman in the place of the mother. Now these Samaloštashma Kanchana, these enlightened people, have certain common qualities. About 7 are mentioned here. These are called Dhyana Yogis. Jitat Badaha. I can tell you a story I told you during the course of the year. Nachiketa is a perfect Jitat. Prashanta, Manashanta. Perfect example to Vidur. Nirdvandva, Tukaram, Ramdas, everything is same. Jnana Vijnana Truptatma. He knows what the true nature is, and in that knowledge is totally contented. Jnana Vijnana Truptatma. Kutastha, his solid foundation. He is able to take the hammering of any outside hard object and still remains constant, stable, unchanged. Kutastha in Sanskrit, in English is angle. Nothing happens. Tukaram says, Tukamane tochi santa, sosi jaga se agata. He is able to take any blows from outside. That is the real sense. Tochi santa. And ultimately, Vijitendriya. If you read the original Ramayana written by Valmiki, the huge chapter written when Hanuman arrives in Lanka and is walking through morning hours through that palace. His flight arrived on the red-eye flight, so he flew on red-eye at that time. And he's walking through that palace, and beautiful damsels in different stages of nudity, drunk with different things in Ravana's palace, are laying in various poses. But he was not detracted by that. He had complete control of his senses. His mission was, in 60 seconds, to make certain, find out where Sita, his mother was, Rama's wife, that Ravana is applicant. So these are the people who, not that they don't notice it, but they have so much control on their senses, Vijitendriya, they are not affected whatsoever. Indeed, the most exalted happiness reaches the person only as a result of contemplation through meditation. This joy is such that it cannot be compared with any other happiness or joy that we know. It is the fullness, the very nature of the self, Atman, or the Brahman. And Sri Krishna says, Prashanta manasam yenam, yoginam sukhamuttamam, yunjannaiva upaiti shanta rajasam, brahma bhutama kalmasham. Brahma bhutam akalmasham. And then he goes on to say, one who meditates free from conflicts, born out of adharma, unrighteous conduct, always uniting his mind with the object of contemplation, where the focus is, easily gains the absolute happiness, born of the contact with recognition of his own identity with Brahman. Or the word in Sanskrit will be Yunjannaiva sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmashaha sukhena brahma samsparsham atyantam sukhamasham. He's connected with Brahman. He's plugged into recharging his iPhone. Brahma samsparsham atyantam sukhamasham. One who has vision of the sameness everywhere sees the self abiding in all beings. Becomes sarva bhutatma bhutatma. He recognizes divine, but he is able to come and see the same thing, and that's how we typical. First time we meet somebody, he say namaste, welcome. You see that. Lord Shri Krishna proclaims, the man who sees me in all beings and sees all beings in me, for him or her, I'm never remote away from him. And he or she is never remote or away from me. That's what he wanted Prasanna. So he said, Sarva bhutastam atmanam, sarva bhutani chatmani, ikshate yoga yuktatma, sarvatra samadarshana. And then this is your verse, Yomam pashyati sarvatra, sarvanjamai pashyati, tasyaham na pranashyami, sacha me na pranashyati. Now consciousness, we alluded in the early part of the discussion, consciousness is not located anywhere. I checked last time, there was no post office box for that. It is not located in a specific location. On the other hand, everything is instead located in this consciousness, only one consciousness. Not simply the living things or the inert entities which we think are inert, but the entire cosmos, the stars and the planets, even all known and unknown dimensions, including time and space, which lead to name and form. It remains in the same consciousness. We happen to be stuck in that consciousness as entity. As a matter of fact, it's a beautiful description here. Asti bhati priyam rupam namam chetyancha panchagam adyatrayam brahma rupam jagad rupam tatodvayam. Or for my Sanskrit students, Asti bhati priyam, these three. Adyatrayam, these three are Brahma Rupa. Eternal existence, bhati, radiant awareness, and priyam is total joy and happiness. These first three are the qualities of Brahma. Adyatrayam, Brahma Rupa. Rupam, Namam, making up the five. These are Tatodvayam or Jagadrupa. That means name and forms. Name is Namam, form is Rupam. These last two, Dvayam is two, are the qualities, are Jagadrupam. These are qualities of creation. So the first three, Asti, Bhati, Priyam, eternal existence, radiant awareness, and total joy and happiness. These three are nothing but Brahma Rupa. Whereas the Rupam and Namam, the last two, are nothing but Jagadrupa. And one whose mind has resolved by such contemplation through deep meditation can differentiate between these two. The constellation of three, which is Astibhati Priyam, that is Brahman. And the second constellation, Rupam Nama, is the Jagat. Now, Arjuna understands. He says, Arjuna raises some valid questions at this stage by stating, you know what, Sri Krishna, the human mind is so fickle and unsteady. Chanchalam me manam Krishna, hey Krishna, chanchalam manam. And makes it even more difficult to control the mind, more difficult than trying to catch a blowing wind in the outfield. Vayoho iva sudushkar. My Sanskrit students. Vayor iva sudushkar means Vayoho, and Samas becomes Vayoho becomes Vayor, and then Sudushkar. Vayor iva, so Vayor iva sudushkar. But Lord Shri Krishna says, by regular practice and mastering objectivity, abhyasena kaunteya, one can accomplish that goal. Practice. That's why doctors are still practicing. When Arjuna expresses that even though he understands and has full faith in what Shri Krishna is saying, what if I don't complete my graduation training before I die? So what happens to one who fails to reach that goal in this life? So he asks the question, Aprapya yoga samsiddhim kagatim Krishna gacchati. Yoga samsiddhim aprapya. Hey Krishna, this devotee, kagatim gacchati. What particular place does he go? Lord Shri Krishna assures, it is a guarantee, it's not a 1-year warranty, guarantee. Assures Arjuna that when an individual pursues the path of yoga or meditation, but fails to reach the ultimate goal in this life, we will meet no negative effect, both here and hereafter, and will never be on the road of destruction. Partha naiva eha namutra vinashastasya nuvidyate nahi kalyana krut kaschit durgatin tata gacchati. Dr. Sani explained to me. Hey Partha, tasya vinasha iha na vidyate. Person who pursues the practice of meditation, he never gets bad results and get destroyed here in this world when he is alive. Amutra eva nahi, even after he is gone physically, even there he doesn't get bad result. Tata, oh my dear, the typical way you say in English, my dear, kalyana krut kaschit durgatim na gacchati. The person who is caring for others and working towards this important way of trying to find oneself, he never goes durgatim na gacchati, never reaches a bad outcome. Durgatim na gacchati. So, instead, what happens? He will be born in cultured and dharmic family in the second life and will start once again where he left off in the prior existence by regaining the yogic intelligence cultivated in the previous life. It doesn't matter, even if the earth was flat, it's round. And if some people don't believe in the reincarnation, it does. We'll talk about it on Tuesday morning. If one is born in an environment where the pursuit for ultimate knowledge will be most effective. So what he's saying is, Tatra tam buddhi sanyogam labate paurvadehikam yatate chuknayo bhuya samsiddho gurudanta. He says, Tatra tam paurvadehikam buddhi sanyogam labate. That means he is born when he has the previous knowledge already ready to go. So he starts not from square one, but start where he left his homework before. Ek Gurunandana tataha bhuyaha samsiddho yatate. So this gentleman reaches the ultimate good goal in due course of time. And then as you continue on this here, Purvabhyasena tenaiva hriyate yavashopi saha jinyasurapi yogasya shabda brahmati vartate. Again, take that. Saha avashaha api tena purvabhyasena eva hi hriyate yogasya jinyasurati shabda brahma ati vartate. So what you go back here is, now if you look back on your life, you come to recognize that is exactly why the things happen in your life the way they have happened. Something beyond our wildest imagination as we are dreaming in our kindergarten classes. First of all, where we were born, the place of birth, the parents and the family, where we grow up, school education that we get, the teachers and other mentors we meet on the way, the location, the world we ultimately decide to stay in adult life, the profession we choose, who we get married to, certain intense desire to gain the knowledge, jinyasu, that ultimate knowledge. Till that time there was nothing, but suddenly the desire that I want to catch up, not a midlife crisis, real desire because it was there, you had left the homework incomplete. And finally finding the right teacher who ultimately will guide you in the right direction, wherein you reach your destiny and fulfill the ultimate goal of being enlightened while alive as a human being, that elusive goal from the past life. So that's how he described. So what happens to me if I die before completing my life? Don't you worry about it. And it's not a warranty of yours, it's a guarantee for lifetime. And then he says, Prayatnatyatmanastu yogi samshuddha kalpisa aneka janma samsiddha tato yati paramgati. Aneka janma samsiddha, going through multiple births, cycles, through prayatnat yatamanaha yogi. He continues to work effortlessly over the lifetimes. Samshuddha kalpishaha tata paramgati. He ultimately reach the ultimate thing. Whereas a yogi who makes efforts by means of his will and who has cleansed all the impurities, Samushuddha Kilbisha, cleaned up all the impurities, is successful after many births, and he or she gets the ultimate state of enlightenment. Now in the last concluding 2 verses of the 6th chapter, Sri Krishna says, by stating such a yogi is considered superior to those who live the life of austerities, including regular meditations, tapasvipya, superior even to the scholars jnani, and superior those who perform the actions karmibhya. So hey Arjuna, become a yogi. Now remember, you have to understand these words in the context. Karmibhya are the karma yogis who recognize that they have a privilege to serve others, recognize that whatever gets done through them is really not done through them, but God does it through you, and whatever outcome comes, they are willing to accept it as a gift from God to the karma. They are not even as good as that. Tapasvipya means they have no tremendous penance when they are able to focus their mind, able to do various, get siddhis and all those things. Penance is very going to the austerities. And here the word jnanis has to be understood. Wait a minute, Dr. Sani, you said jnani, he's even better than jnani. What he is talking about, here the scholars or jnanis, that's one individual I wanted to be here, those who have mastered various branches of science, the way sage Narada was before he came to see his brother Sanat Kumar. He said he has 34 PhD degrees in different sciences and art, but he still hasn't found happiness. So Sanat Kumar said, okay, what are the your PhDs you got in? So he rattles out the names of the various skills that he has put on. He said, oh, well then you really haven't understood anything. So he puts him his older brother, he said, you really haven't, you have missed the main thing. And then he continues to teach. Because such an individual, despite his brilliant degrees and knowledge, quotes unquote, jnani, tends to have an ego that he has yet to overcome. This is so because such an individual thinks that he can gain that ultimate knowledge and wisdom on his own through his own senses and intelligence. The mastered various vidyas, skills are objective, logical, intellectual, but they don't realize that really speaking, even your mind and intellect and body and senses are objects. Only subject is your awareness, the Chaitanya that you are. So if you're trying to logically find out what your awareness is, bad news ain't going to happen. So when he comes to Sanat Kumar, he said, oh, you missed the main point. This jnani then needs to go to Guru or the teacher and surrender his ego, check it in completely, no, not to be collected again, ever. Then only can he be educated appropriately and thoroughly in the traditional way with the wisdom that has been passed along to the lineage of traditional Vedantic teachers. Such a yogi by this time has relinquished the need for indulgence in the worldly enjoyments to sense control and is capable of enduring any forms of suffering connected with mind, senses and body. So he said, to repeat what I just said, tapasvibhyo dhiko yogi nanibhyopi matodhika karmibhyascha adhiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavad. Become that kind of yogi, but then tapasvibhya, karmibhya and jnana. And then he concludes with one verse, yoginam api sarvesha madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan labhatu yema same yukta tamo mata. Lord Shri Krishna says, it is my vision, it's not my opinion, it's my vision, I know it, that the one who has Shraddha, with mind absorbed in me, contemplates on me alone, he alone is the most exalted amongst the yogis. Here yogi means an individual who has attained perfection in the shape of even-mindedness, that the mind is totally absorbed in God or permission. There is no duality whatsoever. He comes to live in that spirit, often expressing in the manner by helping others without bias or prejudice. He comes across as a magnanimous individual, full of compassion and the greatest repository of highest knowledge, and equal to friends and foe. He expresses his radiant awareness and absolute fullness through every possible positive emotion, including love, compassion, joy, and happiness. When expressing it, some people understand him, many people misunderstand him, some people call him crazy, but most importantly, Atmanya Atmana Trishna. He is at peace with himself because he knows who the heck he is. How long does it take to reach that particular state? I'm glad you asked that question. And arrive at that goal. It depends. No time limit can be set. Everything depends on Shraddha. Means absolute confidence in the outcome. That's it. Sincerity to pursue the goal, intense longing to reach that goal, positive, affirmative attitude towards life. Bad news? Negative thoughts are more deadly than deadly poison. God is omniscient and knows everything. We can draw his sympathy only through self-surrender and humility of spirit. We cannot move him by eloquence of words. The proud and arrogant is an exacting taskmaster. But to the modest and gentle, he is ever forgiving, kind, generous, beyond human understanding. One who approaches him on the bended knee and perfect resignation will surely be uplifted and brought in the orbit of grace. Only through the intense spiritual practices of regular meditations can one develop the clarity of vision and become pure of heart. Remember, Jesus Christ says, blessed are the pure of heart, for they shall see the God. It's not a question of seeing it, being connected and staying in that way. What stands between man and the God is man's own making, his stubbornness of mind and destructive doubts. The only key that can unlock the door to divine realization is a steady and persistent meditation. All progress proceeds through ups and downs. After initial progress, the progress might suddenly cease. Do not lose heart. Persevere. Continue the practice of meditation and reach the ultimate goal. One more side comment. Sometimes during the practice of meditation, you reach a certain level of enlightenment, and you get many siddhis. And sometimes they go attracted towards those spatial powers that are given through you through meditation. And if you happen to go in those corners, you get lost in that maze. Your mission, should you decide to accept it, is to keep focus on your ultimate mission, to recognize the true nature and remain connected. The value of meditation will be felt when the mind is wholeheartedly and continuously absorbed in the thought of God. In the depth of meditation, the senses will be stilled and there will come the sweetness of unity. The aspirant will feel the presence of God in the inner sanctuary of heart, and all the desires and aspirations will find their highest fulfillment in joy of divine communication. Never again can the grim specter of depression invade the soul. Nothing will disturb the peace, tranquility and equanimity of mind. He will maintain that happy, contented feeling in his heart as he continues his worldly chores, but with a full understanding that everyone he is interacting with or serving is none other than the very God residing in his own.
Chapter 60 is very special for me because May 1979, the old temple started at the Old Street. And my Bhagavad Gita note says, January of 1981, at your constant nagging, I agreed to join you for the Bhagavad Gita discussion. January 1981. I still remember Ranashita Karmapara. I went to word by word translation, then gave a summary, quickly went to verse number 2. He said, wait a minute, you haven't said anything about verse number 1. I said, I just gave you, that's not adequate. What is the commentary on it? I said, what more can I say? So it takes a long time to really understand it. So even after 35 years of studying Bhagavad Gita with Dr. Sane, I still bombarded with questions. I still don't understand how can Atma be your friend, Atma can be your enemy. I don't understand Yomam Pashiti Sarvanta, Sarvanchamayi Pashiti. What do you mean by see God? What do you mean see? Who sees God? If I am God? So he explained to me, just as a potter knows that all the parts, the adhisthana, or the basis for all the parts is clay only, and clay assumes different forms, nama, rupa. Similarly, the yogi understands, he has complete knowledge that he is awareness. And Krishna tells, another verse saying, if I went to Krishna and asked him, he would tell me, Krishna, look, I am the basis for this entire universe, creation. I am the adhisthana, basis of the creation. And you are part of it, I am part, we are part of it. And therefore, what is the problem with you? Can't you recognize me in everything? So that's the vision that you have to get. And Dr. Sane explained to me, you get that vision when you meditate. and you recognize your true inner self. So, the purpose of my saying that is because even though these verses might look very easy, sometimes you go back and say, like Arjuna said, Chanchal Madam Krishna. So Yoga Prashna, what, maybe I don't understand. So he answered the question, when do you know you recognized you are that awareness? Because he says, try. Arjuna had the same question, Abhyasa and Vairagya. And so Abhyasa is very important. So I'm not discouraged. Once in a while I get very discouraged. I'm studying all of these things, I still don't understand Buddha I have trouble understanding Yomam Pashita Sarvata. But then I come back and say, well, that's okay. Because Arjuna had exactly the same problem. And Krishna assured him by Abhyasa and by Vairagya, you can gain. You will never lose what you have already gained. You will never lose it. You can only build upon it. That's another assurance. So the purpose of my saying that is because if you feel discouraged, it's too difficult for me, I don't understand it, it's too complicated, I don't know that, I don't know this, don't give up. Even a little bit of understanding, Swalpam Abhyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Mayati. Even a little bit of understanding will remove you from all kinds of fear. So that is the Abhyasa is very, that's why it's called Abhyasa Yoga. And he should have put this very early, but then he would discourage a lot of people. So Krishna is very wise. And so he's put it right in the middle. Very well done. It's a good chapter. It's a very practical chapter. So he talks about Bahiranga Sadhana, Antaranga Sadhana, then Dhyana Swarupa, Dhyana Pada, then Dhyana Pratibandha, and Parihara. He talks about Yoga Prashta and Yogi's Stuti. He praises the yogi as the greatest person of all. That's the summary of chapter 6. So go back and read verse number 1. And then he told me, why don't you elaborate on it? What more can I elaborate on? So I still remember that.
Well, I think that's why it's important that you have to stay in the company of people who have similar interests. So otherwise, as you described, you get moved away very quickly. So you have to maintain a company of people who have similar interests, similar understanding. And it's amazing as it happens is, if you remember, we have a Shiva Linga upstairs. I'll take you guys up and you'll see it. In the center is a big stone came from the river Narmada. It's smooth. It was smooth thousands of years ago too. But it still remained in the river, going through the polishing process till the time we selected to install it in our temple. So you have to remain in the company of good people with similar understanding, because polishing goes on all the time. So even if you understand, the moment you think you understand it, by George, you haven't got it. Because you have that sense of arrogance that you got it. The moment you realize that you have so much to learn as yet, and have that humility of purpose, is described 4:14. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. It's not just the knowledge, wisdom that comes with jnana, but it has to be coupled with humility. The moment you say, by George, I got it, by George, you haven't got it. So I think that's something to remember. So you have to remain in the company with similar understanding in nature all the time, because the wind is blowing from northwest, coming from the North Pole, 85 miles an hour, giving a wind chill factor for us in Minnesota. You have to make sure that you are not affected by that, and by not getting affected, the best treatment as a doctor, I can tell you, stay in the company